Guys, a lot of guitar players struggle with getting out of their minor pentatonic boxes. So today we're going to talk about how to break out of that box, and we're going to dive into it right now. Now, when it comes to learning scales on the guitar, most people start with the minor pentatonic box patterns, of which there are 5, which I have done another video on. If you want to learn those and you don't know them, go watch this video right now. I'll link to that at the top and put the link in the description as well. Now, here's the problem though. Most people, when they learn these scales, they get stuck in these box patterns. Now, here's the trick. When it comes to moving around on your fretboard, there are 4 different directions that you can move. And these 5 box shapes that most guitar players learn first are horizontal movement. So we have horizontal movement, which is moving across the guitar like this. Then there is diagonal movement, where we're starting low on the lower strings, and as we get to our higher strings, we go up higher on the neck. So where it's moving this direction. So we're going. Then there is reverse diagonal movement, and that is pretty goofy stuff where you're going this direction. So you're starting higher on the frets on your low strings, and you go lower on the frets as you get to your higher strings, like this. That's a totally different thing. And what we're going to talk about today, though, is vertical movement. So vertical movement is going along the fretboard this direction. And this is what really makes you look cool as a guitar player, is the vertical movement. And so we're going to give you a vertical pattern that you can use to break out of these pentatonic boxes or your 3-note per string diatonic boxes as well. And so let's start with those. Now check this out. I'm going to throw this graphic up on the screen. This is what all 5 of your pentatonic boxes look like mapped out on the fretboard. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this and we're only going to focus on 2 strings at a time. So for example, if we take our first minor pentatonic box shape, which looks like this, what we're going to do is I'm just going to focus on string 2 and string 1 for this, which gives me this pattern. So that's what we're playing on the first 2 strings for our minor pentatonic box pattern number 1. Now for number 2, which is technically your major pentatonic scale, it looks like this. What I played for the first 2 strings for that pattern is this. So now we have 2 2-string cells that we're going to use. We're going to use the one for pattern number 1, and then the one for pattern number 2, and then we're going to go on to pattern number 3, which looks like this. So for those 2 strings I was playing up here, and then for pattern 4, we're going to do the same thing. So on my first 2 strings, I'm doing just this. And then for pattern number 5, I'm going to come down here, actually, and I'm going to play this lower, and it's going to go like this. And so on my first 2 strings, I'm just playing this. So here's the idea. What we're doing is we're taking just the 2 strings from each of those 5 patterns, and we're going to play them sequentially. I can take the 4 notes that I played for pattern number 5 right here on my 3rd and 5th frets, and I'm going to play those. Then I'm going to shift up and I'm going to play what I use for pattern number 1 on 5 and 8. Then I'm going to shift up and play on 8 and 10 for what I use for pattern 2. And then I'm going to shift up to play what I did for pattern 3. And this is where it starts to augment just a little bit, because so far everything's on the same frets, right? But for pattern number 3, what we're going to do is we're going to play 10 and 13 and then 10 and 12. And then for pattern number 4, we're going to play 13 and 15 and then 12 and 15. Or I could play 1 and 3 and open it in 3. Now here's the cool thing. This is a cool vertical pattern that you can use, and I recommend practicing this so that you go. And that way you're playing the pentatonic scale, but you're playing it up and down the fretboard, starting from the lowest part of the fretboard to the highest part of the fretboard. And so you play that up and down and up and down, and then put on a backing track and try improvising with it. Use just that vertical pattern just to unleash your creativity and start to thinking about that in a musical sense rather than just playing it. Then what you do is you pick a different pair of strings and you do that set of 2 string cells that walk through all 5 patterns. So for example, I could do the lowest 2 strings. I do my 5th and 6th string. So if I start with pattern 1, what I'm playing here is this. For pattern 2, pattern 3, pattern 4, pattern 5, and then I'm back to pattern 1. And then I could do it on other strings. I could do my 5th and 4th string. So you can do this with every pair of strings that you have and be able to do it up and down. Now here's the cool thing. As you do that, you're going to notice something, a pattern about those different sets of strings. So watch out for that as you do it. Now it's also handy if you write this down. So you can write down a fretboard diagram. I just do 6 lines across and make some frets and then just write it for 2 strings. And then write another fretboard diagram and write it for 2 strings, okay? The cool thing is what I want you to do is I want you to start practicing the 2 string cells moving vertically across the fretboard, just like you can with your horizontal movement of the standard pentatonic boxes, to give you a totally different way to move around these scales rather than just staying stuck in a box. This will help you go from position to position on the neck and be able to do that without having to think a whole lot, because pretty quick you're going to get used to this new pattern and your fingers are going to know where they're going before you have to really think about it. Now here's the cool thing. This also applies to your 3-note per string scales. So for example, if I take my 3-note per string major scale, what I would do is I would just isolate 2 strings within that scale. So for example, if I start in G major, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to play 2 strings of that. Then I'm going to move up to the next pattern in the scale. Then the next one. Next one. Next one. Next one. And the whole thing cycles through too. But here you're playing 6 notes instead of 4 notes because you're doing 3 notes per string instead of 2 notes per string. But same idea, you move through all the different positions of the scale and you can do it for every pair of strings. So there's some homework for you to be working on some vertical movement through scales by using these cool 2 string cells of just isolating 2 strings of a scale pattern and moving up the fretboard just playing those. I hope that was fun for you. Now, if you watched this far, I do have a gift for you at my website. If you go to simpleguitar.com/top10, there I have a gift for you called the Top 10 Things to learn on guitar first. And it includes stuff like starting out with power chords and eventually getting to your open chords and learning your diagonal pentatonics. And then also stuff like how to use your amp right, how to watch your fretting hand, you know, different things like that. So go to simpleguitar.com/top10. Download that guide. It's 17 pages of great stuff. It's totally free for you. So go get that guide. Have fun with it. It's my gift to you, my way of saying thank you for watching the video today, and I will catch you in the next video.